Hello, welcome to Mytechfun. I'm Igor, and in this video I want to present Creality Falcon 2, and this box is sent to me by the Creality itself in exchange for a review. Now, the only information I have at this moment about this engraver is this post on the YouTube by Creality, and I know that it has a 22 watt optical power. This means this will be the strongest laser engraver I tested on this channel so far. In 2022, most of the engravers I tested had the power of 10 watts optical power, only one was 20 watt, and now this has 22 watts optical power, and it combines 4 5.5 lasers into one beam to get this big power. And it is able to engrave up to 25,000 millimeters per minute speed according to the website. I can see the frame is similar like Falcon 1. In that case, a few additional information that the engraving area is around 400 and 415 millimeters, and it can work quietly, and it is very quick for assembling. A few weeks ago I tested the Creality's Falcon 10 watt laser module, which can be mounted to the Ender 3 or most of the Creality 3D printers. This is of course separate machine. A few words about the safety. So you should consider these quite strong laser modules as a tool and not as a toy. This means you should always wear some safety goggles, and everybody in that room should wear this safety equipment. And if you want to use it regularly, then definitely you should consider creating or buying some enclosure for this engraver. Now let's see what's in the box. It was like unboxing a black box. I didn't know what is inside, and I got several pleasant surprises. For example, I didn't know that error assist kit was included, and then I noticed that this frame is completely assembled. This was content of the box, and I already mentioned I have no information about this engraver at all, and this was very pleasant surprise. Completely new level compared to the Falcon 1 or any other laser engraver. So I never saw that this frame is completely assembled. Basically, all I have to do is assembling these legs, and we have even these extenders if you want to engrave some higher object. And again, pleasant surprise was that honeycomb grid surface, and this steel is included, and also the air assist pump, which is basically mandatory with these engravers with the 10 watts or even higher. But you don't forget, use it only with the cutting of the wood and not with the engraving. Only one comment, a suggestion I always have for Creality, that I think the aluminum should be better compared to the steel, because aluminum conducts better the heat and it will not be marked by the engraving if the laser is over the surface. We have a lot of sample materials in the kit and also steel, but I will use my own plate, which I always use for the comparison of these engravers. This is the power adapter, and the output is 24 volts and 5 amperes, and don't forget it has to give enough current for this pump too. And this is the 22 watt laser module. It is quite heavy. I measure it more than half kilograms, but I'm not worrying because this mechanics is great, and I will talk about it a little bit later. It has some LEDs on it, air, fire and lens. The only thing I am worried about this module that it is quite closed, and I think it will be a little bit hard to do some positioning of the engraving on the surface. There is no printed user manual in this package, but I believe that we have something on this SD card. Now I want to break my record with assembling of the laser engraver, but then let's take a closer look, because there are some interesting things I want to show you. The assembling is very easy. In first step I'm installing these legs, and I don't even need a tool for it. And in second step I'm connecting the pipe for the air assist. Cable is already connected. Connecting the power supply, and basically I'm finished. Definitely my new personal record, so less than 6 minutes, which includes the wiring and connection to the pump. For the focusing we have these distancers, and we have to use this bigger step if we want to engrave, because we need the focus to be set on the top of the engraved surface. But if you want to do some cutting, let's say 5 or even bigger than 6 millimeters, then we have to place the focus of the module even deeper inside the material, so it has enough power on the other side. And now let's take a closer look. So here we have the controller, and this is the operation screen with the home button and arrows. And I believe this button is for the framing, the boundary check inside the laserGRBL, and with this we can pause or start the engraving. I'm not sure how it works so far. We have emergency stop button, and even we can lock this whole unit with this key. And on the side, this is the main switch. Here goes the power in. This is the USB controller with USB Type-C. And here we have the slot for the small TF card. This is the left side, and the pump will get the current from this plug here. And here we can set the power of this air pump. This is very good quality silicone pipe, and as you can see, it will not break, so the air moves freely inside. As you can see, everything is assembled, even this pipe or the wires, so we don't have to mess with cable management at all. Don't forget to move the pipe below the frame. Module is very heavy, and with those regular laser engravers, I'm sure that we would have a lot of vibrations, but with this mounting system, where the center of the mass of the module is exactly on this X alloy extrusion, with this basically there will be no vibrations on this moving around the Y-axis. Another nice solution that this stepper motor for X-axis is not on the moving module, but it is static, fixed on this X gantry. And same with the Y-axis, it is here, so it is not on the moving X gantry, it is completely static, it is center, and with this shaft it is split to two sides. And with this we have a very nice movement, and mass of the stepper motor is not on the moving X gantry. I couldn't figure out exactly what kind of linear motion they used, but definitely not those V-slot wheels. Y-axis is completely closed, and this is the back side. I can see here a wheel, but this is from metal, and it is sliding on this metallic rod. Belts are also tied correctly in the factory, but if we need, then we can do some tension. Here is a bolt, because this is a tensioner, and from the other side we can do some additional tension if necessary. Nice. So far I'm very impressed with this machine, completely new level compared not only to the previous versions, but also to most of the competitors. And of course I know this sounds like a marketing speech, but this is really a great machine so far. Now we will see how it cuts and engraves, and here I can see some possibilities for improvement for the Creality. Because in this video I will use the laserGRBL, which is free software. It is available only for the Windows, but that's not the biggest problem with the laserGRBL. I don't like that I can do only one operation at a time. So if I want to do some engraving and later the cutting, I have to prepare again separate file. I cannot do that in one operation. I cannot combine different speeds in one operation. Okay, so for solution for those who like more advanced software, and also it is available for Linux and Macintosh, they can use the LightBurn. It is not completely free, and this is not a cheap machine. I don't have the product link currently so far, I don't know the price, but I'm sure that a small percentage could be included in it. For example, Creality could do contact with the LightBurn, and they could create Creality Burn, for example, like they did with the Ultimaker Cura. The Creality Slicer is just a rebranded Ultimaker Cura. And with this, the Creality could offer a complete ecosystem. We have the machine, the RSS kit, and great software which can be used with this equipment. I'm connecting the engraver with the laptop using this provided USB cable, unlocking the emergency stop button and using the keys for unlock the engraver, and I can turn it on. The fan is loud, but good news is that it turns off when the module is not operating. Now it's completely quiet. Let's talk a little bit more about this air assist pump, because even I thought that there is something wrong with it because it was too weak. I even compared it with this pump from my previous video, and basically they look the same, only this works independently plugged to the AC power. And it was much stronger compared to this one. Good news is that everything is okay with this pump. Only confusing thing is that it can be adjusted not only over this knob here, but also in a software. And by default it was set to 25%. Okay. I mean, this is good for the LightBurn users because they can set different airflow for different operations. For example, for cutting, they can set the airflow to the maximum, and for the engraving to the minimum or completely disable it. For us laserGRBL users, we can do only one operation at a time. So for me, perfect solution would be if I could set this power only over this knob. I mean, I can do it now, but even if I set here to the maximum, by default in software, it is set to 25%. Okay. I asked Creality about this, and they told me that we can change this default value by typing this line in the command. The last number is the power on a scale from 1 to 4. So 4 is 100%, 1 is 25%, 0 would be disabled. And I noticed that it has to be executed with M9 command after that. And also, if I type M8, it immediately starts the pump with the maximal power. So good news, in laserGRBL we can create a shortcut buttons, and what I did actually is I created a shortcut button which will execute the M8 command. So if I click it, it will start the pump on the maximal power, and I can adjust the power here with this knob. If somebody want to use that possibility to set, I don't know, 25%, he can combine these two lines in that shortcut button, and it will work with the 25-50% or completely disable it. But I figured out all this only when I finished all the cuttings and testings. So in a video, if I will talk about weak stock pump, actually there the airflow was set to 25%. And if I talk about AC pump, there the airflow is 100%. Sounds confusing, but just follow one of these values. It will be always visible during the operation, so you know what is the airflow set for that operation. I already mentioned that I will use the laserGRBL. First I have to install the CH340 driver, but on mine it's already installed. And COM and baud ports are already recognized, so I'm clicking on the connect. And to check the connection, I want to move the module with these arrows. It's working, so it is prepared for the engraving. Plywood, which was included in the kit. And setting the focus for the engraving, so I will use this sensor here. And now focus is set on the top of the surface. This is a PDF file which was also on this TF card, and here we can see recommended values for the cutting and engraving, for the power and the speed. And I will use these values for the first engraving. This is the logo I always use for the first work. And here I can see my settings, but you can always follow the settings during the operation on the video. Boundary check. And I can start the engraving. And in first attempt, as you can see, the recommended values are just approximate. In this case, it was too weak. So in second attempt, I raised the power and reduced the speed. These are the recommended settings, and as you can see, those are very approximate values. So this engraving is very nice and sharp, and this was done on 4000 millimeters per minute and 60% power. Before I engrave some grayscale image, I did some testings, and it is really able to engrave on 25,000 millimeters per minute, because this was engraved all three on 80% power, 10,000, 20,000 and 25,000 millimeters per minute speed. So here you can see the settings which worked for me: line-to-line tracing and 25,000 millimeters per minute, 80% power, and this engraving was quite fast compared to the previous on the other engravers, because it was finished only in 2.5 minutes. Very nice engraving, and even my camera recognized that this is a human face, but it's time to move to the cutting. This is 2mm thick plywood, and it shouldn't be a problem at all for this laser engraver. And you can always follow the settings on the screen during the cutting or the engraving. For now, I'll just use the air assist with the pump which arrived with this engraver, but later I will do a comparison with those three modes: the stronger pump, weaker and without air. I think it is quite obvious why we need a good pump for the air assist. So this cutting is made with that stronger AC pump for the previous video, and this is with the stock pump which arrived with this engraver. This is 5mm thick plywood for my previous videos. This is the thickest I have at home, and I will do 3 cuttings with 3 different air assist modes. And for this sensor, I'm using this second step between 4 and 6 millimeters. This means the focus is a little bit deeper into material. And this is the result. So these two are equal because I forget to plug the pipe. So these two are without any air. This is with the pump which arrived with the kit, and this is with that stronger pipe from my previous video which works on the AC power. So definitely this is the best. This is something between, but here I could even see a flame from time to time. Only now I noticed that this LED turns from green to this orange. It has fire, probably from the previous cutting without air assist. This is 3mm MDF wood, which is very hard for cutting, and I use it regularly in this kind of testings. With 10 watt diode lasers, I need 2 or 3 passes to cut it. Probably here 1 pass is enough. Only the question is with what speed, and I will do 2 cuttings with both types of the pump. Incredible, first time I could cut this in 1 pass on 200mm per minute. I already tested once to 20 watt laser, but it could cut in 1 pass only on 100mm per minute. So the power of this laser is very impressive. And here you can see 2 cuttings. This is with the stock pump, and this is with the stronger AC pump, and you can see this is a little bit cleaner, but this is quite good too. This is 3mm black acrylic. Unfortunately, it cannot cut transparent acrylic, it cannot melt it. And with 5 watt diode lasers on 100mm per minute, I always needed 2 passes. With this speed, with 10 watts, I need 1 pass. Probably here I can cut it in 1 pass, but the question is on which speed. I will try with 200mm per minute. Boundary check. And as you can see, I have that problem now that I have no idea where the engraving will be located, because I cannot see the laser spot. Not perfect solution, but for positioning I'm using this piece of paper, because I can see the spot of the laser on it during the boundary check. Very clean and very fast cutting. Only the biggest problem is that I couldn't see the exact location. This is a stainless steel plate which I always use in this kind of testings, and with 10 watt diode lasers I get something like this, and with this one I should get something like this on 100mm per minute full power. Boundary check, and again I have that problem that I cannot see the laser spots on this steel plate. This part is speed up without 10 times, and I'm using 100mm per minute speed full power because I want this engraving to be comparable with those which I did in earlier videos with other engravers. I'm a little bit confused why it is not equal, but maybe the reason is that in the meantime a plate was heated, which is actually better for the engraving, but let's clean it with isopropyl alcohol. And actually I can feel this engraving, it is very deep inside the surface of this plate. Maybe you can hear it now. And if you want even better results, you can use some black marker on the surface and you will get similar spots like this one here. And you can even do it faster. I was curious how this TF card mode works, so I copied the sample file to the root on the SD card. And I insert here the SD card, turn on the engraver, and then I click this frame button. It will first do the homing, and after this it starts to move on the boundaries of the engraving, and then I can use these arrows to move the position if necessary. And if I see that the position is correct, then I can click the play button and it will start with working. And this is speed up with approximately 20 times. And now you can see why you need to use this in good ventilated room or use the enclosure. And the final work is perfect thanks to the air assist, a good laser and a nice design. After this I wanted to try with my own object prepared in laserGRBL. I prepared the engraving and saved it with a quick save to the root of the SD card. And I tried it, but it didn't work. Then I analyzed the start code of the sample files and I copied the part into header of the laserGRBL. Only I have to change the boundaries to be generated for my object, saving it with the advanced options because I want the header to be saved too. And this time the offline engraving worked perfectly. It starts with the framing, I can move it with arrows if necessary, then I click on play button and in less than a minute I got my engraving finished. You can download this start header G-code from my website. And now the conclusions. I'm repeating myself, but Creality did a great job this time. And I feel finally that this is 100% finished product launched by Creality. And the second time, for the first time, I feel this with Ender 3 S1. With S1 Pro, no, it still needs some firmware updates. But I like every part of it. I mean, great moving mechanism, great position of this laser module, extremely strong laser module, the strongest I tested so far. You can see that with that MDF wood cutting. Only confusing was using this air pump, but I explained in this video how can you prepare it to get the maximum power from it, because it works great and it is quiet. It is hard to find a space for improvements. Maybe one of those would be to prepare some kind of dedicated software, maybe some contract with LightBurn to create some kind of Creality burn. And maybe a separate screen would be a nice solution, so it is more comfortable using of the offline engraving, because we can see list the file, select the file, and start with engraving without computer. The positioning on some surfaces is hard because we cannot see the laser dot through this glass during the boundary check. Maybe the solution could be to have a removable protection glass like with the 10-watt laser module. Or we can use the toothpick method, which I explained earlier. If I know the offset between the toothpick and the laser, I can create a custom button which will move the origin. So I can do the boundary check with the toothpick and then click on that button, and the engraving will be exactly on the desired place. I explained this in one of my earlier videos. And it will change the top 5 list of tested engravers on this channel. Actually, it will share the first place so far, and the only reason it is not absolutely on the first place, the other company has the dedicated software for the engraving and cutting. For LightBurn users, this will not be the advantage, but for laserGRBL users, yes, because in that software we can do several different operations on the same time. If you don't have additional experience so far with this engraver, but when you do, you can write me a few lines in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and happy and safe engraving.